The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother, and led them up a high mountain by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, conversing with him. Then Peter said to Jesus in reply, Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud cast a shadow over them. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. When the disciples heard this, they fell prostrate and were very much afraid. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, Rise and do not be afraid. And when the disciples raised their eyes, they saw no one else but Jesus alone. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus charged them, Do not tell the vision to anyone until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
What an interesting interaction we have here today in the Gospel. Jesus has taken Peter, James, and John up the slopes of Mount Tabor so that they can witness his transfiguration. And I'm struck by the fact that none of them seemed particularly fazed by the sight of Jesus beginning to glow with the intensity of the sun. And when they saw Elijah and Moses, who had been dead or missing for centuries, well, in the case of Moses, maybe thousands of years, chatting with Jesus, they just sort of thought that was pretty neat and wanted to erect tents in their honor. But when God spoke, he spoke to them from the cloud with this simple message, This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. They were terrified. And I guess this is sort of a reminder that God is not just our chum. He is awesome and terrifyingly powerful. The apostles fell to the ground with their faces in the dirt. They were afraid for their lives. But the next thing that they experienced was the gentle touch of Jesus saying, as he said, Don't be afraid. And then he said, Get up. And that was a touch of love. It was a touch of reassurance. And it was a touch that said, You have now gotten a glimpse of where we're going. But now there's so much more to do. And we need to move on from this place. And I would pray that everyone here in this building tonight might feel that very same touch of Jesus here at Mass. And I pray that you would feel a touch that reassures you, a touch that lifts you up and urges you on to something more. Maybe that might happen as we take of Holy Eucharist. And if not today, maybe this week. And if not this week, maybe sometime this Lent. Now, in our epistle, St. Paul tells us, though, that this journey with Jesus as we come down off that mountain is going to be hard. Hardship is normal for those who walk with the Lord. Discipleship is the process of stretching us and then learning how to grow in love by using God's strength and trusting always that Jesus has our back. Now, the problem in life is that we don't get to choose which hard that we get to deal with. You know, we can get all romantic about it and say, wow, if needed, I am willing to be mocked, to be beaten, to be thrown in prison, or even die for my Christian faith. And we could arrange that for any of us with a simple plane ticket right tomorrow. And a person might say, well, it's Lent here, and I'm ready to pray, and I'm ready to fast, and I'm ready to give money to the poor. But what happens when hard means I can't accomplish a task that I should be able to do? In fact, one that I used to be able to do. and now I feel frustrated and defeated. What happens when hard is someone close to me who perfectly presses that button inside of me that makes me want to emotionally self-detonate? And what happens when hard means I have to submit to an idea that I do not particularly like, or to a person that I do not respect? See, these are the unwanted, unsolicited, hard situations that God uses to shape our souls. A few months ago, two of my brothers-in-law went through separate severe health crises that left them incapacitated and hospitalized. We didn't know if they could go back to their apartments. We didn't know what was going to happen to them once they were discharged. But what I did know was that God wanted me to go clean their apartments. Yeah, I felt the touch of Jesus. Get up. And I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I was supposed to go clean those apartments. So we went over there. You heard the word we, right? That means my wife. And God bless her, she was more than willing, practically leading the way, leading the charge to go over there and do that. So Debbie and I spent nights in a motel and cleaned during the days. It was nothing heroic. It was just what I was supposed to do. Actually, my biggest fear during this time was that Debbie might recognize how good I was at cleaning. Well, the guys got better, and they went home, and they were both very happy. And I've always enjoyed these brothers. I just love it when they come out and visit. But I have to admit this, that when Debbie sent me a picture of them sitting there happily in one of the apartments, I was happy for them, but I also felt this little growl inside. And I was thinking just what you'd be thinking right now. And you better keep those places clean, right? In fact, I told them that I would never do this again. And I was a little shocked at my internal reaction, and I asked the Lord, I said, why do I feel this way towards my brothers? And he answered me straight out. He said, because now they have cost you something. It is easy to love my brothers when they don't cost me anything. It is easy for any of us to have an opinion about anything if it never costs us personally. But how does Jesus love me? How does he love you? I just have to look at the crucifix to answer that. You know, and I began to suspect that I might very well be cleaning those apartments again as part of my personal training program in love. See, Jesus was not transformed up on that mountain for his own sake. The revelation of his glory points to a time when we will all be transformed. The hardships that we encounter in this journey with him is a part of that process. Let me leave you with a word picture. This last Sunday, we were up in Ely babysitting grandchildren at a big dog sledding race. And I watched it, and as the teams approached the start, the dogs were lined up side by side in their harnesses, and they would stop them, and they would be eager and bouncing and barking and anxious and wanting to go. And often a musher would walk up from behind his or her dogs, and they would speak to them, or they would touch them, and sometimes they would even press their face into the dog's head and whisper to them. And you could see the dogs relax under that touch for a moment. See, that touch was an affirmation of the bond between them. That touch was saying, I love you. And it was saying also, in a moment, we are about to leave this place. And I'm going to ask you for everything that you have. In fact, I'm going to ask you for maybe a little bit more than you want to give. But I will be with you every step of the way. So I pray that everyone here can feel that touch of Jesus and hear his voice saying, don't be afraid. Get up. We need to go. there's so much more left to be done.